This is a little follow-up to video number 107 because some people said I confused them with the timelines, because I mentioned in video 107 that in the future we live in a police state, and many of us have come back in time to change this. And they ask that you tell us the future is fifth dimensional. How can we all of a sudden be living in a police state? How can the two coexist? Okay, I'm going to try and explain it the best way I know how, because I'm not an expert on timelines. I understand them theoretically, but I'm not very good at explaining them. We have many timelines that coexist, and we ourselves can easily exist in more than one timeline. So one of our future timelines is, as we mentioned, a police state. And we said in that timeline, we don't like this. Let's move into another timeline. But in order to do this, we need to go into the past first and change the conditions that took us to that particular timeline that we do not like. In this case, a police state. So we came back in time, took bodies again, and we are attracting the conditions or the situations that took us into that timeline, so that we can do them differently this time. And that is how we will move that timeline slowly. Let's say it's to the right. There is no right or left in reality. But for argument's sake, let's say it's to the right. We slowly move that timeline a little to the right, and it will merge into the timeline we want it to merge into, which is the fifth dimension. I'm going to use a very simplistic analogy. But again, this is very simplistic. Things are a little more complicated than this. Let's say you're in university, and after the first year of university, you decide you want to drop out and you don't continue, so you don't get your degree. You drop out, and of course your future has changed now because you have dropped out of university. You might fall in love, you might get married, or you might not, you might have children. You have a very different future because you made the decision to not finish school. Then your children grow up, and suddenly you're 40 years old and you decide you want to go back to school. This happens a lot in America. There's a lot of students that go back to school in their 40s. You decide to go back to school to continue your studies. By doing this, simply by making the decision to go back to school and actively going to school, you have changed your future. So you are now getting ready to go into a different timeline than the one you were going to go into had you not gone back to school. By going back to school is like going into the past to change your future. This is the most simplistic explanation I can give. But again, there are scientists that know timelines very well. Try Googling them. Maybe you can find something there that could explain how timelines work. So yes, for the people that got confused with the fifth dimension and the police state. That's the easiest explanation I can give. They live in many timelines, and sometimes we want to make one of them simply disappear. By doing this, though, we need to go back to the past. And this is what a lot of us on Earth are doing at the moment. I will leave it at this.